I'm going to call the meeting to order. We do not have a quorum, but I'm still going to let Cliff make his presentation, and then I'll present it to the full court, and I will tell them that we didn't have enough at the committee meeting to vet the program, and I'll let them decide if they want to approve it or not, but I'll make them aware that that it hasn't been vetted by our committee, Planning and Development Committee. And I think that will help move this along, or if the case be, not to move it along. But having said that, Cliff, I'll let you have the floor and make your presentation to those of us that are here.
Thank you. Thank everyone for coming. The first thing I would like to, we visited about this a little bit last meeting, was that we consider revising the incentive consideration from that it had to be something that AEDC could incentivize to something that was manufacturing related. I don't want to carry us into retail or anything like that, but there are companies that do things that support the manufacturing industries, primarily the big steel mills. And they're real good about hiring a lot of Mississippi County people. Actually, they have a much higher percentage of local hires than Big River or Nucor. So I would like to change that resolution to we will consider manufacturing related industries. Y'all will still, I mean, nothing goes anywhere without this committee and the full court voting to approve it. You know, I'm not going to bring anything, I'm not going to bring retail or anything unless something, you know, happens, and if all y'all's phone starts to ring because people want a new Target or something, then that'll just be something that happens, but it's not something that, you know, we're going to go looking for.
Now, what is the major difference in what you're recommending?
Well, as it reads now, it says that we can only consider projects that the Arkansas Economic Development Commission would also consider. Now, the reason they don't consider these is because their internal regulations.
And when you say these, you're talking about the ones you're going to do today?
No. For instance, I'm going to introduce a thing for a company called EPMH. It's Rick Ellis, it's his company. And Rick has started a company where he hopes to employ 50 people that would be offloading specialty inputs for Nucor and carrying them to the two Nucor mills. So that's clearly manufacturing related. And we're perfectly within our legal rights to do this if the court so chooses, because there was a Supreme Court decision decades ago that says that anything that if the manufacturing company were not hiring an outside firm to do it, they would have to do it themselves, can be considered part of the manufacturing workforce. That's why, when, you know, even though there was a little political flack when we helped D&L, we were perfect. I mean, we weren't doing anything outside the bounds of legality. So the reason that AEDC doesn't consider those is actually what AED considers is the taxes. How much tax revenue is this project going to bring? They put no residency requirements on anything because they're going to get their taxes. They're going to get, if you work in Arkansas, you're going to get the full Arkansas income tax. Therefore, welcome. That's right.
Man.
G, yeah, this is it. So, for instance, all the people that live in Tennessee and work in the steel mills, you know, Tennessee writes them a check for their Arkansas income tax back. Because you can't pay a high state income tax, which Arkansas has a high income tax and very low property taxes. Tennessee has very high property taxes, but no income tax. So you can't pay both. So when they file their Tennessee return, or they file a special thing and Tennessee sends them their Arkansas income tax back. Whereas our focus is more on getting jobs for people who live in Mississippi County. I mean, we don't really do this effort just to collect the taxes. I mean, the property taxes are nice to have, but that's not the primary motivation. Does anybody agree or disagree?
Cliff, going back a little bit, and you correct me if I'm wrong, but a few years ago, after D&L and A&J or whatever the trucking company was, that's when some of these changes were made, was it not? At that time, didn't we say that it had to be approved by?
Well, I think we rode through those. I think it was when we were getting besieged by several retail things that we're going to create.
Maybe the grocery store.
Right.
Actually, it was already in effect when the grocery store came in, because we have a resolution that adopted I guess it's their internal rules.
Yeah.
Which basically says that they have to be manufacturing, number one, and number two, they have to do 75% of their business outside the state of Arkansas. Those were the rules that we had adopted through that resolution.
It's been changed since I've been on, which this is the 6th year. And it came along in there somewhere. There was some question about whether it was getting, and so forth. I mean, I agree with you about one thing, and I'm not saying I'm far against this, but I agree with you one thing. A lot of these smaller companies that come in to service a steel mill, they're almost exclusively local hires, because the wages that they pay, a person can't drive in and stay there 4 days and leave.
No.
That's what it boils down to. Nucor, you can, or
Right.
Big River. But most of the employees of the ones that we deal with, that we see, are pretty much local employees. And they're small companies, 10, 15, 20, whatever it is.
Right.
But that's 15 or 20 that live here and
That's right.
work here. The only problem I question about it, is it going to put us back into a situation again where we're gonna have all of these requests and all of these things about, okay, well, you did this for this one, but you didn't do it for me. I mean, the county
Right.
caught a lot of flack over a couple of those.
Right. Well, I think if we we could consider putting, of course, we've always had a limit of
Right.
10, and we've always had that bar that people had to meet. But I would think if we said manufacturing or manufacturing related, then that leaves the court still gets to be the judge of whether they consider it manufacturing related. Not me, the court. So if it's something that you don't want to, that you think best not to get involved in, we won't get involved.
Well, I don't have any problem about a company going out here and starting a business and building it up to service these and everything. That's the American way.
Right.
I don't have any problem with that, as long as, I know you gotta have some guidelines. I just wanna be sure we don't, get into.
Well, this would still leave us only incentivizing manufacturing and things that, without which the manufacturing companies would have to be doing it themselves.
Yeah. But see, you take guys like, let's go back to, Gladwin, and then Mike Jaques and Doug. If those guys hadn't started that, they started that company to service the steel mill.
That's right.
They built it up,
That's right.
and I mean, I don't think we would want to exclude someone like that want to start a company, even though they're only gonna have 5 or 10 in the beginning, but now they probably got 50, 60, or 70. And
Right.
that's just encouraging people, I think, to build it up. Does the word manufacturing restrict it too much? Or
No, I think if we said manufacturing and manufacturing related.
Okay, that means if you're gonna service, you would be related.
Right. Or we could say manufacturing and manufacturing service companies.
Or even support, manufacturing support companies.
That'd be good.
Because if you, trucking company could be a support company
Right.
for a steel mill.
Right.
That, you're not going out there and saying, we're gonna do retail, but you're saying, we're gonna do anything that will support the manufacturing that we have in this area.
And still hold it at the minimum of 10 jobs.
Right. And as far as the trucking thing, I mean, I think the only thing that we were perfectly legal to do that.
Why?
It was, the only thing that went wrong there was the company went broke.
Right.
I mean, because trucking, those are good jobs. And if we only incentivize those drivers that live in Mississippi County, then, that paycheck comes back home to Blytheville or Osceola, Manila, and gets spent here. So, I don't, I mean, obviously, I haven't been approached with another trucking company since then. But, I never felt like that was just a deal that didn't work out. What do you think, Molly?
And I'm just thinking.
Okay.
Well, and we've talked about trying to do some things a little differently. I think it's just, we have to be real careful about, be sure we stay within the guidelines. But I certainly would hate to penalize someone that's trying to start a small company and that they've got the capital and they've got the work
Mhm.
and they just need a little help. To me, that's kind of what it's all about.
That's true. And, AEDC, now they will support things that we don't have a chance of getting.
Right.
Headquarters locations, call centers. I mean, they can incentivize all those things, which we're never going to because we're never going to get that opportunity.
Don't say never.
Well, not never, but maybe just in our immediate future, I can't see. Okay, so I don't guess we're not going to have a vote, are we, on these? No. Okay. Well, the next.
But if you want us to present that and let the entire court, then we can do that.
Well, let's do that.
If you can do that, you're gonna write up what you want us to present, or,
Well, that we change the incentive consideration rule to manufacturing or support related industries.
now, we can do this on a resolution, can we not?
I
Well,
would think
that's
so.
what our other one was, it was just a resolution adopting.
I don't feel like
No,
it needs to be a law, I think it
No,
just,
no, just a
we'll
resolution.
make this a resolution.
Yeah, I think we did.
I think all you
Since
do
we
is
don't have
change the resolution, say for
Enough to
adopting
vote, we'll
their
just
full
present
plan
it to the
to-
full court, and I'll make them aware
all
of it.
this.
Okay, that's to change to amend the resolution we already have
Yes,
in place, okay.
and if you can lay your hands on the other one, it might be nice to stick it in there so they can see what we're amending.
Okay, I'll find it.
Okay. Next item?
The first project would be EPMH, which is Rick Ellis. Rick would, his goal is to create 50 jobs at the company. They're good paying. Rick pays will be paying between $18 and $21 an hour. So the Great River Board's recommendation is that the county consider incentivizing this up to a maximum of $600,000. Which is, I think, $15,000 a job.
Anybody got any questions about that? Again, we're gonna present this to the full court. We're not
It's
gonna-
$12,000 a job.
We're not going to vote on it, but if anybody has any problems with it, let's vet them at this point.
Just a couple of questions. What kind of jobs will these be?
Well, he's gonna be buying tugboats, and so he'll have tugboat captains, he'll be having cranes and crane operators, he'll be having some truck drivers to haul it from the port.
Very similar to what he did before.
Very similar to what he's
He's
doing.
doing what Kinder Morgan does.
Right.
So how would we present this at the meeting? Would we vote to change it first and then vote on these projects, since the rules
Yes, ma'am.
technically don't state that we can have this project yet?
Mhm.
I'm asking you, you don't think, yeah?
I think that that's what you do if that resolution passes, because technically what we did before was we adopted, I think it's AED's inter-office controls. And it was to mainly deal with manufacturing. And as long as we know that going in and vote for whatever it is, I don't know that that resolution is actually binding, but it is something we should abide by. So I think if we move that resolution forward, changing it first, then I think we're in the clear.
This is not really any of our affair, but this is not gonna get us involved in any kind of litigation or anything, Israel, because I assume he has all his clearances, because
Oh, yes.
at
yes.
one time, Kinder Morgan bought out David Stone, and he had the landing rights.
Yeah,
and all
Rick's
that.
in a different spot. He'll be in a different spot.
There was no Corps engineers complications or anything like that.
No. I mean, he's already invested several $1 million in building up his platform and.
Yeah, I know he's.
There's not a no-compete clause that we're
No.
gonna be getting in the middle of
No.
by doing this.
No.
Okay.
And you will be there next
Yes,
Tuesday.
I will.
Yes.
Okay,
Number two.
number two, Glencore. Glencore is an international, company, a conglomerate in the metals business. They deal in everything from rare earths, minerals that they bring out of China and sell to the defense companies, to zinc, aluminum, everything. And they have offices worldwide, and they they want to, they're considering buying the Blue Oak building in Osceola, which was the building where they were trying to melt down cell phones and separate those into their basic components. They want to buy that building and put it back in business. It'll be a little different type of operation. They won't come out with finished products, but they will send them on to their Pittsburgh smelter, who will then finish the process. But they're going to hire 50 people, so they're going to be doing some complicated type things in there. I don't really know the exact nature of what all the different machinery will be, but they will be investing about $18 million in total in that building.
You said they're gonna buy the building, they don't want us to give it to them?
Well, the thing I have,
When you start stuttering, it kinda concerns me.
no, I just stutter sometimes. With Glencore, they're gonna hire 55 people, and their wages are going to, again, they're gonna be in the $17 to $21 an hour range, and the building part has somehow already been taken care of. between them and the Blue Oak owners. So what we would primarily be doing would be reimbursing them for the machinery, the new machinery that they bring in the building. And that would be a total investment on the county's part of $660,000 if all 55 people.
Are we gonna do a tax back at resolution?
And we'll do
at
a
this
tax
point?
back,
At
yes,
this
sir.
point,
Well,
is it too early?
we don't have to do it yet. I mean, we could do it next month. But we will.
Yeah, if they're gonna have the equipment stuff.
Right.
We need to.
Well, actually, it probably is too early because they really haven't decided whether they want to do a
But that's fine.
whether they want to do an Act 9 bond or not.
That's
The legal fees and all get pretty high on those Act 9 bonds, and
Of
so
course.
they're exploring that.
Attorneys write the rules.
That's right. That's right.
What are they gonna process?
Electronics,
Similar to what Blue Oak
right.
is doing?
Cell phones, computers, printers, all office.
So it's a recycling recovery type.
Right. So
Are they from California, did you say?
they're from all the whole world. I mean, they've got offices from Singapore, Saudi Arabia, France, England, Canada. But the products from this one would be going to Pittsburgh for further refinement,
Wherever there's a cell phone.
wherever they, that's right.
Okay, what
Okay.
you got now?
Next, y'all asked for a report on the work program, and Gene Bennett is here with his team to give that report on just how that investment has worked.
Mr. Bennett, we're glad to have you.
Glad to be here. Always enjoy being invited. Look around, see if y'all are serving any food or drink. When you come to our place, we always,
Always at the food.
We ate it all.
you ate it all?
We knew you was coming.
I probably don't need it. Cliff had asked me to come by and kind of give an update of our work program since its inception and give you some of the numbers and what's going on there. I brought Michael Smith, who is our work coordinator. He is the recruiter for the program, and if y'all have questions, he'll probably be able to answer them better than me. I have Mr. Doug Eccles, who is a member of the team at Gagomi in Osceola. I asked him to come because his company has participated two ways. One, they have hired work completers. In fact, they're on, I don't want to call it the second or third generation, but they've hired some who are now mentoring some recent ones that they've hired. But they've also participated in the subsidized wage program, which is funded through this group. So if you have any questions from an employer's standpoint, he's here to answer those questions or to give a testimonial should you like to have that. But briefly, we've had 744 participants, people that have applied. Out of that 744, about 65% gets selected into the program. The program, when we first started it, anyone that signed up got in. That didn't work. So we started having a screening process to make sure that the individuals that we put into the program were ready to be in the program and serious about the program. Of that 65% that get selected, we have about an 82% completion rate. And what the completion rate means is that they completed almost all of the hours. They passed all of the tests that were given and obtained the skills that we were looking for them to get. Now, how would someone that starts it not finish it? Same way they lose their job when they get employed. If they're absent more than 3 times, they're removed from the program. The main purpose behind starting this program years ago was to provide individuals who were unemployed underemployed, never been employed, an opportunity to get skills to get an entry-level job. And we've been successful at that. Now that 65% that are completers, it's a little over 340 something. About 82% of the completers go to work. The remaining percent stay in school. We have several that have gone through some of our technical programs at the college. Once they complete the work program, as y'all may know, we co-locate the work program in our new Allied Tech building so that they're exposed to all of those things to go to work. And once they're completed, then Michael continues to monitor them. One of the problems that we have is, just like in any other entity, if you've got someone's phone number and contact information, it's only as good as they want it to be. So some of the members, we don't know if they're working or if they're not working because we can't contact them. We've lost track of them, so to speak. But I'll be happy to answer any questions about the content, or if you have any specific questions of the two guys here. As I said, we've put 744 applicants. I can't do the math on those that are employed, what benefit that is to our Mississippi County revenue stream, both in sales tax and in property tax and those things. Because what we have done is when we have been able to take individuals who didn't have anything, and now they're not only paying taxes, they're buying possessions. So when we go to the courthouse and assess, they're doing that. They're buying cars, they're buying other property. So we think it's a very valuable program. Included in the program is the First Aid CPR card through the American Heart Association. We also offer the OSHA 10-hour certification, which a lot of our manufacturers want their individuals to have. And with that, I'll entertain any questions, or if you want some more specific information, I'll provide that.
I was looking at this report you prepared for me, Gene, and I think some of these figures of the people who completed the program, you show that 45% are employed and another almost 25% have continued their education.
Is that the new number, Michael?
Which I think that's fantastic. I mean, because that's 70% of people who were absolutely at ground zero in having a career or earning any money to support themselves.
But that's what I was talking about,
Right,
Mr. Chitwood, is the remainder of those that completed, they may be working, we just don't know it. They may have moved, we just don't know it.
Right.
I think there's a note on that sheet that you've got that says that that's part of that percentage that's not employed, is we just don't know what they're doing.
Right.
And we have the same problem with our college graduates, trying to track them to see where they are.
But at any rate, for the amount of money that the people of Mississippi County have invested, I mean, the return has been several hundred people.
344, is that? 344.
Employed, which is an enormous payroll. And I think, from my viewpoint, is a very good return on the investment.
And I agree with you. Like I said, I don't get to generate employment dollars and data, but we know that every dollar that's earned gets turned over 5 to 7 times inside the county when it's earned. And every time that's turned, there's a sales tax that goes along with that, and that puts money right back in the coffers that we're using to support this program. Did some numbers on our community punishment center. Because we're encouraging them to get in the work program when they're released. You know, we have a 56% recidivism rate in the state of Arkansas. So 56 out of 100 that get let out end up turning around and getting put right back in. And in order to affect that, it's education. The education level and skill level of those individuals. For the month of February, there was 46% of all the inmates coming in and out of the county jail that had less than a 12th grade education. So that number ought to be startling. So this program helps provide an opportunity for them to not be a part of that 56%. It costs $35,000 a head for incarceration. So you take that $35,000 away and then add at a minimum of $20,000 to $25,000 on the other side of the ledger. Every one of those individuals that we can help, that's an immediate $50,000 to $60,000 turn on the economy. Instead of draining, it's adding. And I think they pay for themselves. I wish I could had access to all of the employment data that we could get and could calculate the return on investment that the county has made in these individuals. And since we're serving county residents, other individuals are hearing about what we're doing. At the college, I deal with primarily 4 other colleges in our area, and they're envious that we have the opportunity to serve our constituents with the work program, with the subsidized wage program, and with the training that the county has been able to help provide for our county residents and companies. It's invaluable.
And for the justices, further information, I mean, the governor was so impressed with this plan that he has now expanded it on a statewide basis, with ANC being the first school through which the new state programs, maybe you could speak to that just a little bit.
It's called the Career Connect program. Arkansas Northeastern College, in conjunction with the Department of Workforce Services, they are providing funding as a pilot to our area for us to have a subsidized wage program for a different group. These are TANF and T participants primarily, but it's another mechanism for us to help our folks. We don't have enough money anywhere to serve everybody.
We can pull back on some of our county funding.
No, sir. What that means is you need to double down on your county funding so that we can serve a wider range. Right now we're limited as to how many people we can put through a program at a time.
You just fill it up every session, each time you getting it up.
Yes, sir.
You want me to
Go
speak?
ahead, Mike.
Yeah, we actually, I'll actually talking with anywhere between 60 individuals, maybe 30 some odd individuals will sign up for the program, and on the day of orientation, I'll probably have about 20 people to show up, and maybe about 15 that completes it at the end of the program. That's been on average.
And we were able, when we first started this, as y'all may remember, 5 companies put money in to support this program as seed money. And we were offering programs daytime, nighttime, Blytheville, Osceola, and alternating. We weren't doing 4 different things at the same time, but we were alternating. Now primarily, we're doing it here at our Allied Tech building, the new building, and that's for a couple of reasons. One, it like I said earlier, it gets them on our campus. It gets them to where they can see what the opportunities can be. So, yes, Mr. Nelson, you need to double down, not pull back. One, because we don't know how long
Do what, Mr. Bennett?
we need to get more money.
Hard time hearing.
Yes, sir. I've encountered that with you on more than one occasion. Me and Mr. Nelson go back a long time.
Any further questions?
And if I may, I would like for Mr. Eccles to
Please.
share his testimony, or whatever you want to call it, from Kagome. He comes from a ministerial family, so testimony is probably the right word.
I'd like to ask,
Yes, sir.
is there very, some specifics where, such as, that you look for them to have big muscles or?
No, sir. No, sir. We have opportunities for all body types and all strengths. Our companies You know, when I was working in the factories back in the 70s, having muscles was a benefit. Today, a lot of what goes on in our manufacturing, you use your head because it's technology. It doesn't require heavy lifting anymore. And our demographics, I didn't mention this, but the demographics of our work program is majority African American participants, but we have a wide range of ages, with the majority coming between 18 and 35. But we have it's about 60-something% African American, 30% Caucasian, and 8% Hispanic. Somewhere in that number.
Men or women? Or?
Mostly men, about 2/3 are men, 1/3 are women. We're still fighting that stereotype that women can't work at the steel mill, women can't weld, women can't do HVAC, women can't do a lot of things when they can do all of those things very well. Doug, would you share Kagome?
Good afternoon, everyone. Here. Definitely, the work program, along with the sub-wage program, has definitely been beneficial to Kagome. I've been there for to be 3 years in July, and previously coming from the work program as the previous coordinator, so I knew firsthand of what that program could do. So I had what you consider inside scoop, the benefits of that program, and so once Michael got into place and the program got back to going at full steam, we had a couple positions that was available in our quality control department, and I contacted Michael. Michael sent me a list of different individuals that he felt would be beneficial to our company. And so we have a pre-hire assessment that we take individuals through prior to just interviewing them and taking them through the process. And the 2 individuals that we eventually went ahead to hire passed those pre-hire assessments with flying colors. They interviewed very well. Now, we had one lady that interviewed, and she was in there, I could say, about an hour, because the quality manager was very impressed with her and felt like she had a lot to offer the company of Kagome. So they talk about 1/3 of the participants being women. We actually, the ones that we've hired have been all women thus far. And then from the very first cohort of the work program, we had who was a lead at Kagome in the quality control program. She actually was their trainer when they came on board to work. So we were actually able to connect those individuals with the program, because she was able to talk about the experiences that she had through the work program and getting into that position, and they were able to relate a lot, and it helped them in transitioning towards their training into understanding what they will be doing from day to day. But both individuals that we have hired from the work program are currently still working with us. They're doing extremely well. And also the sub-wage program has definitely been a great benefit to us. The controller, when you heard about the incentive that we would get for hiring individuals from the work program, he was very ecstatic about it, because that saves us on our end. I think we actually end up saving about close to $10,000 through this past year, just for what you guys have invested into that program. And so we were able to get a benefit through that, because not only did they remain through the 90 days, but I know we had one that's coming up to a year, and the other one is probably maybe about 4 or 5 months out from finishing her first year as well. So what they're instilling into the program through those individuals, we're seeing the fruit of those labor at Kagome Foods as well. So it's been a beneficial program, and Michael continues to send me applicants, and we don't just take all of them, but we find which ones specifically fit what we're looking for. And the individuals that we have selected and brought in have done an excellent job. So I definitely think the dollars that you guys are investing into that program is beneficial. And again, these individuals are from the county, and I get opportunity to spend time with them to see how things are going as well. So they praise that program very highly, and then again, we're seeing the benefits of it as well.
Thank you, Mr. Eccles. We appreciate that report. Hope you continue to bring good news. Mr. Bennett, thank you.
we may have, what I'm about to bring up, there may be some more questions, so don't mind, just, so with that report in mind, I'm gonna ask that we consider two things. First off, we have depleted the account for workforce training, and I would like the court to consider adding $200,000 more back to that fund. Now that includes the whole range of what the college offers. Our policy has always been that we will pay 25% of the training cost. And as y'all know, it's always been the court's policy that only training through ANC qualifies for this benefit, not a trainer brought in from Pasadena or anywhere else. And so this would, and I think this does more than anything else we can do to show our companies that we really are a partner with them, that they can send their people and we're willing to bear 25% of the cost. Now there was a time when the state automatically picked up 50% of the cost, and sometimes they still do, but sometimes they don't. I mean, they've changed their workforce focus.
What's the current status?
Well, the current status, well, we do 25, that's all we'll do, but then if the state pitches in with 50, that makes it relatively economical for the company. But if the state doesn't, then the company has to pay 75% of the cost.
What is the state requirement to chip in the 50?
It's kind of on a grant basis. They decided that they would train people for the jobs of the future.
Okay.
I didn't know the state could see the future. And I've yet to see evidence. But I mean, there will be a future. But I think they shook everything up and decided that everything would be done different. And like a lot of initiatives, now it's kind of coming back more towards the center where they realize it doesn't matter. I mean, the jobs of the future will have to take care of them. People need to be trained for the jobs that are available to them right now. And so they are getting better about granting a higher percentage. Am I correct in that? I think I am.
Yes, sir. And it can go up for certain types of training.
Right.
Cliff's correct that they are trying to train for future positions, so they pay more to upskill a current workforce. It can go up to 75%. And ANC is the leader in writing those grants for our customers.
Neil, do you have a problem with that?
No, we've been appropriating 400,000.
No, we've done two. I mean, generally 200 will about get us through a year. You know,
How will this get us?
should get us through this year.
This year. I think it's a great program.
Right.
Which good?
Okay. The next is, I mentioned this last time we were here, is to share with the college a hire that would be a college hire. They would. What exactly is it that they would do at the college?
The title is internship coordinator. And we've had internship coordinators that were grant funded in the past that have tried to work with our employers to match students with jobs prior to completing their training. This person will do two things. One, they will work with the companies to provide internship opportunities. Primarily manufacturing is where we try to focus that, but it'll be anywhere. And the second thing is this individual will assist Cliff in his efforts when a company is coming in to find a pool of people for them to interview and possibly hire from. So it'll serve internship purposes and would serve helping the county identify pools of possible employees depending on what the needs are.
Why are you asking us to share in this?
Well, because about 40, this would be an experiment. This would be a test to see that.
I think we just failed it.
No, But yeah, but let's, okay, you know, we make our incentives dependent upon Mississippi County hires. You know, we're clear about that. We're always talking to the companies, trying to get them both through money and jawboning and social persuasion and everything else to hire more Mississippi County people. But very often, they don't know anybody from Mississippi County. And the HR manager may not live in Mississippi County. So we've got some companies that are going to be hiring. Now, for instance, Glencore. I mean, they won't know anybody from Mississippi County. So what I've talked to those companies about, and we've got others that I probably will be bringing to you in the months coming up. Well, White Gold, for instance. Now, you know, that money has already been set aside, that incentive, but that company is about to start construction of their new mill, which will be a cottonseed oil mill back in Mississippi County. Those of you who remember Osceola Products, it was the oldest manufacturing company still in existence, in continued existence in Mississippi County when it closed about 22 years ago. But they won't know anybody, White Gold and Glencore. So that's almost 100 people. So what I've been talking to these companies about is saying, we would, you know, as part of the incentive, we want you to let this person that's going to be our person come, you know, have a chair in your HR department where he or she can come in, know the HR manager on a personal basis, and ask how are we doing on Mississippi County hires. And when they say, as they will say, we can't find anybody, then they can say, well, just wait a second. I can find you somebody. You don't want to be walking away from that $12,000, $15,000 incentive without giving it a shot. And then they can, you know, we're not trying to put the temp services, we're not trying to hurt into their business. I mean, this person she would call all the temp services. You know, he or she would need to be someone with good connections in as wide a range of our communities as we could possibly find, familiar talking to you know, with preachers, coaches, everybody. And let's just see how many people, extra people, and I don't know how to quantify that, but I do know that because I talk to a lot of companies all the time, and if the HR person is from Kennett or Hayti, that's where they know people. So that's where they hire from. And then they'll say to me, well, we just didn't I just couldn't find anybody in Mississippi County. So this person working at the college will be in close contact with Michael and Gene and all the people coming out of the programs, all the programs there. Plus, in addition, they would, you know, have community contacts.
So this person would be a college employee?
They would be a college employee. The college, we're probably going to offer them about $45,000 a year to work, which would be about a $60,000 position. The college would put in 35, we would put in 25, and we would be entitled to about 40%.
Who would they work under at the college?
Gene.
Under Gene?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Anybody got anything?
I don't want to embarrass you, Cliff, but is this Plan B to what?
No, this doesn't really have
This
anything to
doesn't
do
have
with
anything to do with
anything
that
of
proposal.
No, the other position, you know, which we decided against, would have been much higher skill level, much more, you know.
I have another question for Gene. I don't mean to all talking, but how coordinated is the communication between workforce services and your department at the college? Y'all work together pretty well?
We work together pretty well. Might be a stretch as to.
When they will allow it.
Yes, sir. But actually, that has improved as y'all may or may not know, Dr. Childers is
Yeah.
a homegrown person, is now over Workforce Services, and she's made some very positive changes in the way they do things. And I
I thought you were
anticipate our
talking about
relationship will
ESD
improve.
security.
No, I'm talking about the unemployment office, we used to call it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
right.
he's
Right.
talking local.
But they should work together. It should be a deal, you know. I mean, they should be trying to place people.
He's talking local, you're talking state.
I'm talking that the person that's over it at the state has made a change locally.
Yeah.
That's good.
And we're making inroads with, we're doing a lot of stuff with James Morgan of ETS, which is the WIOA entity here in northeast Arkansas. And they've got 2 individuals in that building. And we're doing a lot more with them back and forth, serving our individuals here.
That's good. The more cooperation, the better it is, I think.
And this position, and I don't mean to interrupt you.
No, go ahead.
But this position, what it's going to do is to allow us to better collaborate between the temp agencies, between the county, Tamika and Cliff's efforts, and these companies coming in. Because we will have someone that can deal with these HR people wherever they are and have a resource to share to put Mississippi County folks to work. And that's why the college is excited about this possibility because it's going to expand what we can do. And that's why we want to put in the bigger share. But we really appreciate the county considering what we're asking as a trial.
25,000 from the county part.
Yes, sir, for a year.
Okay, the last project.
Well, I think I've already mentioned the white gold, which we didn't hear from them for months and months and months, and I was about to put their money back in the, they have, their financing is all straight and they're ready to start construction. In fact, they're gonna let bids, this next week on their building. It's as we said, it's a cottonseed oil mill. The Lawrence Group has a strong position in it. So it's, you know, and it's really, of course, it's a good project at the south end of the county because y'all may not have heard, I don't
Is that
even
the
know.
one down at Wilson?
Yes, sir.
What's it called, Mary Jane or?
Well, Mary Gilster, I mean, they had
Mary
a,
Lee Gilster.
Gilster, they lost about half their customers. I understand they've laid off about half their workers because they lost Walmart account and that would probably do it for half the workers. So these will be jobs, hopefully some people there can find other reports. And the last thing is this is our site selection trophy given by Site Selection Magazine. It's the Big Muddy Trophy. For the past 18 months before it was awarded, Mississippi County or the greater Blytheville area had more industrial starts than any community, any small community on the Mississippi River. Which, that's not nothing. And I appreciate y'all coming out today, and that concludes my...
We will, or I will present this to the quorum court next Tuesday, and we'll see what happens. You will show up.
Yes.
Did you, Molly, I think he has something to talk with you about after the meeting's over, the contract that you asked about.
Oh, yes, okay.
So after we adjourn, you can get with him and chit chat.
Okay.
Gee, could you come to that
Thank you all
next
for coming.
Tuesday in Osceola? Or Michael?
Thank you, fellas.
Yeah, it should be.